Okay, thank you very much for coming into Norland Unwrapped. We're just going to wait for a few moments just to make sure everybody can log in correctly. So just bear with us. I can see people logging on, which is fantastic. We'll wait for a few more moments. Okay, still numbers are still coming up, so we'll wait for a few more moments. Okay, I think we've plateaued at the moment. Okay, so I think we will make a start if that's okay with everybody. So welcome to our very first Norland Unwrapped session. You are most welcome. We're so glad and so happy that you've managed to log on and join us. So thank you for that. My name is Kate Morgan. I work in the marketing department and I am marketing and engagement coordinator. I may have met some of you at one of our lovely physical open days. I probably were floating about in the archive room, or I was in the agency, or you probably had emails from me as well, if you have come to an open day before. I may have also potentially visited you at your school or your college to give it a talk or a presentation, or you may have never met me or never seen me before in your life. You are most welcome. You're welcome to our first Norland Unwrapped. And if it's your first contact with Norland, welcome as well, because hopefully you will find out a little bit more about Norland today. Ask lots of questions. I'll go through that in a moment. And it's a great opportunity to have a bit of a taster. So thank you very much. And I'm going to pass over to Katie just to pass the slide over for me, if that's okay. Wonderful. So just some housekeeping to start with. This session will be recorded, and please be assured that your camera and your microphone is off. That is taken care of, and you won't need to worry about that. There will be an opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation, and we would love to hear from you. That would be fantastic. There's a section at the bottom. You can ask those questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There's also opportunity to watch all our wonderful virtual open recordings that we've done recently, and that includes the VOE, and there's also a careers advisor open event as well, and that will give you lots more information, more detailed information about Norland, all aspects of the training, how to apply, admissions, fees, funding, opportunities. It is available on demand, so all you need to do is log on to our website and visit the appropriate section, and you'll be able to access that anytime you can. Okay, next section. Lovely. As I said, this is our very first Norland Unwrapped session, so it's an inaugural session, so thank you very much. The reason why we decided to do these sessions, for a number of things really, is to provide a really informative and hopefully, as I said in the slide, insightful look into our degree, but a very informal and relaxed manner. We've got some wonderful staff and students, so I'm going to ask them to wave. That's Katie, one of our senior lecturing team, that's Tilly, and that's Nancy, our students. And it's really an opportunity to get to know them, ask them questions and to hear about them really, and studying at Norland. So it's given you a bit of an overview and, as I said, a little taste of Norland really. It's also bridging the gap. Obviously at the moment, due to some very nasty thing that we've got going around, we cannot get you back into the college, which is a real shame. So obviously we've taken on board the virtual aspect and they're available. So it's bridging the gap really between the virtual open event that we offer and the physical open days. And we're hoping this will become a bit of a series of events, so covering different topics each month. If there are topics that you think we should cover, we would love to hear from you. You are more than welcome to drop us an email. You can drop me an email on kate.morgan@norland.ac.uk, or you can send it through to our inquiries. If you think there's something that we're missing or something you want more information about and it's not being covered in the virtual, or anything you can think of, please send it through. We want it to be a really interactive session for everybody, so we really want the engagement from you guys to tell us what you want to know, rather than us telling you what we think you want to know. So that's really good. So please send that through, and hopefully we'll cover what you need to be covered. As I said, at the end there will be opportunities to ask questions, so please, anything, we'd like to hear from you. If we can't get through all the questions, we will of course try and find the answers and obviously have that available as potentially as FAQ at the end of the session. session. So I'm going to now pass over to Katie, and then she'll talk you through an overview of the degree. So Katie, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, just to give you all a big welcome from myself and all of the lecturing staff here at Norland. It's really great to be able to have contact with prospective students, and just to be able to tell you a little bit about myself, being part of the team here. So myself and most of the teaching staff have vast early years experience, spending a great amount of time working within industry, both in settings, healthcare, schools, and we have a few Norlanders working on the lecturing team as well. So people who have been through the Norland College process, gone on to be nannies and actually loved it so much, they've decided to come up and train nannies of the future. So as you can see, just a little bit of an overview about myself there, but I'm just one part of the lecturing team, and we have a really good wealth of experience and diversity of skills and professional heritage, which we always try to bring to our course content, which we'll be discussing in a little while. So here is a bit of an overview of what we have here with our degree of a difference, and it's based on it's a three-year degree course focusing on both the academic and the practical aspects of working with children in the early years. And when we say in the early years, we actually think about things with regards to maternity and supporting expectant parents and helping them right the way through up until even into teenhood. But we focus mainly on early years within our actual course dynamics, but within your training, that is something that we bear in mind. We have an amazing cohort of students from our first years right the way through to our fourth year NQNs. And our students have a diversity of backgrounds. So whether that's A-levels, BTECs or cash. And one thing that I really find with our course content is that actually we make it accessible for students, whether you've done an A-level or whether you've done a practical course like the BTEC and the cash, because we interweave everything together. As you can see here, we draw on so many disciplines, academic disciplines and child development disciplines. And it really makes sure that we can give you a breadth and balance to your training, and we can really dig deep with regards to the course content and think about what that looks like with regards to academic theory, but how that works day to day within the role of the nanny. So actually being able to put these things into practice as well. And the great thing is so many people on our academic team are actually doing our own research, which means that when we are able to do our own research, we're able to provide you with cutting edge information and new current up-to-date research. So you guys are hearing things firsthand and getting the real picture of what's going on in early years and research into the early years as time goes on. Like I say, we have the degree that's split over 3 years, and it's actually split into 3 trimesters. So if you think of old terms at school, you'd have like the autumn term, the spring term and the summer term. That kind of fits our trimester 1, 2 and 3. And each one of our terms is made up of 12 weeks. And within that 12 weeks, you'd spend 8 weeks on site and 4 weeks in placement. And we have the most wonderful placement partners. And we can help to place students in special educational needs settings, maternity and health settings, early years, nurseries, schools, and also in placements with families. So you almost have that chance to get the stabilizers off your bike, as it was, when you've actually when you're actually graduating. You then feel confident because you've got the in the field and industry practice alongside the academic knowledge as well. So I'm just going to give you a little bit more information about what each year kind of looks like during your 3 years studying here at Norland. So the first year we have kind of an introduction to so many different aspects. So the first one we do is concepts of development and learning, where we're thinking about early years child development theories and thinking about how we can use that to help our children to be the best that they can be and maximize their own individual potential. Then we think about things with regards to safeguarding and child protection, because we know how vital that is in keeping all of our children safe. Thinking then about personal, social and emotional development, knowing that it's a prime area of children's development and learning because it's so integral into helping our children to feel confident and informed and empowered with their emotions, and to be able to self-regulate confidently and competently helps them to be well-balanced individuals, not just within their early childhood, but it's a life skill that we really want to empower our children to have. Thinking about elements as well with regards to professional development, so how we learn to learn, really, thinking about how we can become the most empowered, the most confident and the most informed students and learners, and realizing that actually it's not always a straight line. Sometimes there's a bump and a dip in the road, and you've got a fantastic team here and a student support team that can help you with anything to do with that. We have communication, language and literacy, which is actually one of my particular favourite topics, because it's something that I'm studying, which means that I can give you the real insight with regards to theory and research and modern day practices, and helping children to become confident communicators. And again, how that helps children to feel empowered with their personal, social and emotional development as well. So you can see from this that all of our modules are kind of intertwined, whilst also having them as standalone elements as well. Everything that we do here as a module tends to complement other modules. So we understand with children, they don't just learn one thing in one topic at a time. We want to encompass the whole child and think about the child as a holistic entity, so we can help them to learn as broad and balanced individuals, but also the holistic child, and helping us to work in partnership with parents to be able to ensure that as well. And that leads us on to physical development. So not just being able to run and kick a ball, but being able to hold a pencil, being able to think about how they can turn the pages of a book, but also how they can start to think about how they want to take care of themselves as well. And then in the second year, we start thinking a little bit more with regards to diversity and inclusion, and helping our children to feel empowered with regards to their unique elements of what makes them them, and helping them to see that everybody has challenges within their lives, and helping them to actually realize that if you accept your challenge and we can give you strategies to work on that, then actually that can become an amazing superpower. Then we have elements with regards to thriving in a diverse society. 2020 has told us that our society is becoming more and more diverse and progressive, and we need to embrace that and we need to champion that. And that's how we can support our children, through being allies and advocates of helping them to be empowered individuals. Then we have elements of play and learning, thinking about what it really feels like to play and be playful ourselves as adults, because sometimes we can forget what that feels like. Then we have promoting health and well-being. So some of the concepts that we really need to know to be able to keep our children safe and well, and maybe recognize when that's not happening. Then we have ethics in research, and this is when we start to think about why we do the things that we do with regards to research. What is it that we want to find out, and how can we make sure we're doing it in a way that not only keeps us safe, but protects the children that we're working with, and the children we want to know so much about. We want to know about their world and what makes them tick. So doing it in a way that's not causing any distress to them, and making sure that we're upholding our professional and research standards that we have here at Norland. Then we have making sense of children's behaviour, and that's very much about realising that children, like I say, will sometimes have bumps in their road, and it's natural for children to be exploring their emotions and their behaviour choices, and it's down to us as adults to help them make sense of their world. And that's what this module is about in the second year. And then, like I say, of course, you know, it's a degree element, so it is running across 3 years. So in the third year, we start to think a little bit more about the research that we were focusing on within our ethics module. So within our third year at the moment, we focus on our dissertation that's actually broken down into modular elements. So we have a literature review, so what it actually looks like to feel empowered and immerse ourselves in research within literature in a field that we feel really passionate and empowered about. And that tends to be informed by the modules that you have in your first 2 years. So often we'll get dissertation students say, this is something that I did really well in my first year or my second year, and I learned so much about it. I wanted to explore it in more depth and feel really passionate about finding out more about this topic. And that's what students tend to do at the moment in their third year. We have a module looking at research methodology, so how we can work in the most effective way to be able to find out the answers to the questions that we formed through looking at the literature in our literature review. So again, you can see all of these modules start to complement each other, and they start to work well with regards to helping us think about our research and our dissertations as an overview, and it works really well and succinctly because they really complement each other in this process. Then after Christmas, you have the opportunity to do your research, and we put that together within the work-based project. So what is it that you found by doing your research? What is it? What are the themes that are arising? And the best thing about doing this dissertation topic is that you get a dissertation tutor. So you're paired with somebody who has a specialism in this area and is just as passionate about this as you are. So it gives you a real opportunity to form that working relationship with somebody who's experienced in doing research in this area. Then we have dimensions of leadership. Again, one of my favorite modules is a little bit about designing your own hypothetical dream setting. Now, if you've worked in the early years, you might well have been sat in a setting going, do you know what, if only I had my own nursery. Do you know what I would do with my nursery? I would do this, I would do this. And it's something that students get really excited about. It's something that students can really let their creativity and their outside the box thinking flow. And they get to design the nursery that they would dream to have. And it's a chance for them to really celebrate that to us. And that's actually done through a presentation assessment. And we have so many different types of assessment here at Norland, because we know that there's no one size fits all with assessment. Some people thrive on doing things like essays, but we have poster presentations, we have presentations in person, we have presentations that can be done over the internet. And we also have a Viva where you have the opportunity to give suggestions and then ask and answer questions on them. Then in the third year, the final one we have here is reflective practice. So thinking about how your understanding, how your confidence and how your own personal and professional development has flourished over the 3 years here at Norland. And it's a chance to use that within a vlog. So we give you lots of support on how to put a vlog together. But actually, I have to say most of the students are far more clued up on this internet technology than I am. But it's a really enjoyable way to see how students have really personally and individually flourished and grown over their 3 years on the course with us. So to speak a little bit more about our course, I think the best people to be able to tell you about that are our students themselves. So maybe to think about our first year content, I'm going to ask Tilly if you would like to come on board and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a first year here at Norland.
Hi, I'm Tilly. I'm in my first year here at Norland and I'm loving it so far. I maybe didn't take a linear journey to get to Norland. I actually originally went to study something completely different. But at 21, I decided that I wanted to completely rewrite the path I thought I'd take and work with children. So naturally, I'm sure like many of you, I started Googling, having a look around at what my options were. and asking people if they had any advice. And Norland was suggested to me by multiple different people, different family members. And the moment I read through it, I knew that this was what I wanted. If I was going to pursue a career with children, that I wanted to be able to train at the top of the game and not have any barriers to stop me from reaching my full potential, which was exactly what Norland was offering me. So then in our first year, we have studied a myriad of topics so far. So if I just ask Katie to
of course
hop along. So she mentioned some of the modules already, but the two that I want to flag up are the two that I'm actually studying currently, which are the concepts of development and learning and the personal, social and emotional development. They both tie in really nicely together, which I think is obviously timetabled to help that, because it's nice to not have to switch your brain between two completely different topics within a day. You have a really nice like smooth transition and can easily get everything to like merge within your mind and start tying in different concepts that you're learning, which I find really helpful. But for concepts of development and learning, I remember my first lecture of this so vividly because it was with Katie and she made us do a Play-Doh disco. So we got to like learn how to play as an adult, which is obviously something you don't get the chance to do very often. And at first it was really, really strange. Like obviously we're still quite new to each other. You're in a room full of like people similar age to you and you're asked to dance around, be a bit silly with some Play-Doh in your hands. But actually, once you got past that initial awkwardness, it was so much fun.
I can testify to that. I've done it as well, and it's really good fun, absolutely.
And it just opened up my mind to see something from a child's perspective and see something from a view that maybe I wouldn't have necessarily put myself in that position. So I think that's like, even just that lecture alone, I know has vastly improved my like capabilities as a nanny, because it's opened up an entire new mindset of seeing things from a child's perspective and knowing that sometimes it's a bit weird when an adult's like, let's do this fun thing, but you kind of just get stuck into it. And then also we are learning about schemas and things like that, which I find really interesting, because you do see with children, you'll be like, that's so strange. Like, why do they keep repeating the same behavior or the same activity? And it's so nice now to be able to see it, especially on placements and things, be like, oh, actually, I know the logic behind that. And it's completely understandable why they're doing that. So I found that fascinating, and it's suddenly just like increased my understanding like tenfold, which I've been fortunate enough to put into use in my placements currently. And then to tie into this as well as the personal, social and emotional development, which is learning about theorists, which if you're familiar with childcare, I'm sure you know a lot about like Piaget and Bronfenbrenner so far. But this was a completely new world to me. And I really enjoyed with this module having my peers explain some concepts to me, and it being more of like a collaborative work to understand concepts and theories better, and it not just being like somebody at the front of the classroom explaining it to you. I find it easier to learn, and it opens up different learning styles which can suit different people. And then within this, we also looked at, which is obviously never an overly happy topic, but negative factors that can impact a child's development. But it was amazing to still see that there's so much you can do as an early years practitioner and as a nanny that can, even if a child doesn't have the best situation outside of you, you can still do so much to help their development. And there are still so many different ways that you can intervene and still help them reach their full potential. And I think it was a humbling moment to realize how much of an influence you can have on like such a tiny person, and actually shape so much of their life just through simple activities that you do with them. It was just, I don't know, I really enjoyed knowing that I've got this world of opportunities ahead of me.
Great.
But yeah, they're the 2 modules that I'm learning currently, and I'm really enjoying them. And I think they continue a little bit after Christmas as well. But also all of this can then be put into practice with placements, which I think is on the next slide, Katie, if I can just get you there. So I'm currently, as of Monday, on a placement in a specialised school for children with like special educational needs. And I honestly never want to leave. I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun. And it's interesting because all of these concepts that I've learned, I'm then having to extend even further into like into a SEN setting where it's not a straightforward path for them, and you can see little bits of everything you've learned in each child and then say, well, I know this aspect of it, so I can expand on this to help them to the best of my abilities. And obviously, like, they just give so much back to you, which is lovely. And also I use this every single day when I'm working as a nanny. Like, even if you're not in a nursery setting or like an early years setting, just one-on-one with a child, it's still so important to put these practices in place. Because obviously you're still interacting with the child, you're still affecting their development, and you have to keep that at the forefront of your mind as you're doing this, and knowing that you're helping them to the best of your abilities. And behind all of that is Norland helping me to be able to work to the best of my abilities. So it's like a nice little chain of support, which ultimately formulates in this child being given wonderful opportunities and really the best support that they can have, which is all that matters at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying my time at Norland, and I'm so excited to get to meet any of you that join us next year and answer any of your questions at the end here. So yeah, that's my little segment.
Thank you so much, Tilly. That was so good to hear about your experiences, and to know, you know, that you particularly love the dough disco as much as I do. For a start, but also, you know, your experiences of being in the school on placement at the moment. So one thing that will really help you going into next year when we're looking at things with regards to thriving in a diverse society and supporting families and communities will be these experiences that you've got on placement now. And you know that the fact that you're actually your placement at the moment is working with a school that supports children and families who have got special educational needs and disabilities will really help you to have that knowledge in your head when you're learning about the concepts and the legislation and the frameworks next year. So that's really good to be able to hear. So thank you so much, Tilly. That was really informative. So thinking a little bit more about those second year modules, what I'll do then is pass on to Nancy, if that's okay. I'll bring your slides up.
Amazing. Thank you, Katie, and thanks, Tilly. That was all just, you know, flooded me with so many memories from first year. And I was kind of thinking, it reminded me that, especially with the concepts of development and learning, that was the one you touched on, one of them. I remember thinking how much I enjoyed it, and especially the assignment, which often you might not hear people saying they enjoy assignments, but actually I really enjoyed that assignment. It was creating an activity. I can't remember the specific criteria, but I remember enjoying it and thinking, oh, I'm going to go into second year, and you know, I'm sure there'll be some modules, but you know, will I enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed these ones, or will I have to leave these behind? And not at all. Through your whole 3 years, you are just completely, you're kind of, it's like you've got your toolbox and you just keep adding to it and adding to it. And I'm still using things that I learned from my first year modules and my second year modules, but yeah, that was really lovely to hear, Tilly. So, but anyway, so as Katie has said, my name is Nancy and I am a second year student. I'm deputy head of SEP 43. So yeah, second year, nearly one term in at this point. When I'm not in Bath, I live in East Sussex with my mum, my dad and my brother. And my mum is actually how I came across Norland, I guess, because she is a Norlander herself. So she is, she is a Norlander, once a Norlander, always a Norlander, and she is set 10. So she obviously trained a few years ago now, but she is so jealous and wishes she could come back, because although, you know, she loves the traditional aspects and they're still keeping it the same, the course has just, it's completely changed for the good, and it's just amazing. And I mean, the world is changing, childcare is changing every year, so does our course. But yeah, so she's very jealous that she can't come back, but I'm not sure I'd want to train alongside my mum. We'll see. But yeah, so I mean, why Norland? I just obviously knew about it from my mum. And she now runs a really successful nursery, and I am biased, but it is because of Norland that she's so successful. And growing up, I never really was quite sure that I wanted to, what I wanted to do. People would always ask, I think it's unfair to ask kind of 12, 13-year-olds, but people would ask, say, what do you want to be when you're older? And I'd say, oh, I'm not really sure. I love looking after my younger cousins, and I love working with children. But, at 13 years old, it didn't really occur to me that childcare could be a career option, because in my head it was, right, go to university, do medicine or physics and go off and do that or something. But actually nowadays, and that now you can really do anything, I think. But so yeah, I love working with children. And when I got my GCSE results, the same day, I remember I was on holiday at the time, and I looked up what you needed to get into Norland before even thinking about it, and went to an open day that October, and that was it really. I knew from that open day, because I knew that from one open day, I knew that Norland provides you with the best early years training you can get. And so I thought, why go anywhere else when you can go to Norland and become a Norland nanny? So far at Norland, obviously I'm going to touch on the modules. You can see Katie mentioned them as well, but so far I've loved all my placements. Obviously a couple of them have been cut short due to COVID, which is a shame, but I've loved working in different schools, different family settings, different nurseries, and being able to, and Tilly touched on this, but being able to put everything you learn in your lectures and your academic, sit down with the lecturers into practice, and being able to use that theory. And I was chatting to Katie today saying, in one of our lectures, that actually you always think, oh, okay, you put it into practice, you hear about a theorist and sure, you go off, but do you really? And within my first day of placement, I was saying, oh, that child's doing that schema, and that looks like that theorist's kind of concept. And you just spot it everywhere. I spot it everywhere now with, working with children. But yeah, so the modules I'll be touching on are working alongside families and communities and thriving in a diverse society. And as Tilly has said before, and obviously because of timetabling, I'm sure it's done on purpose, but these modules for me, like the ones Tilly mentioned, work really well together, and you can kind of tie in, they do weave quite a lot, because obviously there's lots of similarities with the modules and lots of kind of theories and scenarios that you can use in the other modules. But I think just talking about kind of what I've learned so far is them, obviously you can see the bullet points there, but we learn about, obviously during people's lives, families can go through lots of different changes. And so, for example, divorce or bereavement, it's sad, but it's not rare, it happens. And it might be that you're working within a family where this has occurred. And so as a nanny, you need to be there to support these families. And this is what we do in our modules. We can learn different support structures that we can take into our family placements, into our jobs, into our everyday lives, and just using these skills that we learn along the way. And again, going back to the toolbox, it's like everything you learn can be used, so you're adding to that constantly during your three years here. But obviously working through difficult changes can come with difficulties, but things that you're able to manage. So obviously working in a professional manner is really important during Norland and forever during your whole career, because this is how you get jobs. This is how you kind of work for different families. And I think I thought recently we had a talk on the Black Lives Matter movement. We had a guest speaker, obviously all online, unfortunately, but we had that during a few weeks ago. And at the end of the talk, it made me think so much more about how before maybe I was nervous to speak up on matters, or kind of didn't feel as educated as I should be on on the whole movement. And after that, I felt so empowered to kind of go out there and have those conversations and question people and, you know, use my voice, that kind of thing. And it's exactly the same with Norland. You know, you learn all about kind of how to handle different types of scenarios, how, you know, just they say this could happen and you think, wow, really? And it does. And then you learn how you can do this. And the most important bit is that you can find a strategy that works best for you. And I think Tilly also mentioned that the ongoing support from Norland is incredible. And I'm someone who struggles quite a lot academically with dyslexia, and so I've always got someone to support me. And I've recently been in isolation. I'm mad now, so it's okay, I'm not going mad anymore, but during isolation I'd have an email from my tutor almost every other day, kind of thing, you know, not bombarding you, but just checking in, chats with them. And the same way you can get support for your work and just general well-being, you can get that from your peers. And I think that's actually such a lovely thing about Norland, is that we are a small institution, and therefore you can always seek help from someone within the college. But yeah, so obviously that kind of leads on to discussing scenarios, the last point, and finding out a way that will work for you, because some ways going to work for some people and others won't. But obviously you're an individual. It's like with children, they're unique children and unique Norland nannies, and so lots of things are going to be, you know, everyone's different, everything works in different ways. But so putting it into practice, so obviously we do a degree and a diploma. We've talked about the degree a lot, but touched upon the diploma. This is our placements and holistic assessments. Hopefully we might be able to do another Norland Unwrapped on diplomas, who knows, in the future. But so we're constantly linking our diploma and our degree together because they go hand in hand. And that's why you don't, you know, when you apply to Norland to do the course, it's not one or the other, because they help each other so much. So Tilly has already mentioned that what you learn in your lectures, and I've said as well, you do take on and you do in placement. And it's true, because, you know, that's what you're learning, and that's what you're there to do. And so you're learning that in your placements, and the same way that in your placements you'll learn things from different other practitioners or other parents or families, and you learn from all your peers going to different placements. And every time you do something new, you know, I've worked in lots of nurseries now, and every time there'll be something new, a new need from a child that I need to learn to support, a new activity that I've never thought about before. But yeah, so obviously within the early years, we always want to be encouraging diversity and inclusion, and it's important that all children are included in our practices, and kind of bringing on to the designing activities. So we obviously look into kind of OAP cycles and just observing children and creating activities, and that's part of the diploma as well as this, but obviously putting all of what you've learnt with theory into creating an activity to help support this. And then, as I've said, supporting families through changes is a huge thing, because, you know, essentially when you are part of a family with in a job, or whether that's through placement, you are becoming part of that family. You know, essentially you might be a primary caregiver to a child on a job, and you need to work out how you're going to support them. And so all of these modules that we do, well, these modules I've mentioned, really aid your practice and that kind of thing. And obviously I've only kind of touched on a very tiny bit of Norland, and kind of only 2 modules out of a huge, you know, all of the whole course. But I hope I've given you a good insight into kind of what it is like it's studying at Norland. And I also hope you consider applying if you aren't through that process yet. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That was really good to hear about your personal experiences, and the fact that you've been able to get support for learning skills and study skills, and the fact that you really actually enjoy some parts of our assessments as well. So that's really good to hear. One thing that really came across in your presentation there was you talking about diversity and helping to support families through transitions and change. Is that something that you'd be quite interested in maybe doing for your dissertation next year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously it's not super far away, so it's been something I've been considering, but I think definitely kind of encouraging diversity and being inclusive, and somehow weaving in working with families, because it's such a huge topic, and obviously every family is different, so some skills are going to be useful with some families and others won't. So it's, you know, working with families is a huge topic, and obviously as a nanny, something you probably might end up doing quite a bit.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to click onto the next slide, and I'm going to hand you back to our lovely Kate.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much. That was so interesting. It was so lovely to hear from Tilly and Nancy. And if I could do my time again, I think I'd apply. So I am part of Norland, but that's as near as I'm going to get. So it was just lovely to hear that obviously you really enjoy what you're doing. And I think that is really, really important. That does come across. And I hope that comes across to everybody who's watching as well, that, you know, you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to be here. So I think that's really, really important. So thank you for that. And we do have questions. So that is really, really good. I'm always worried we won't get any, but we do. So I'm going to ask a few questions. I will direct them to you. So just in case. So I've got a lovely question to start with. So this is both to Tilly and Nancy, is what are your favourite parts of the course so far? So I'm going to give that to Nancy first.
Favourite part? Oh my gosh, put me on the spot a bit, of the whole course. I mean, I've talked about it lots. I think the placements is something that is so unique to Norland, and obviously you do your placements all the way through your time at Norland, all the way through to the third year, end of the third year, and then you do your NQ-Ed for your fourth year, which is a whole other Norland Unwrapped, I'm sure, but which we get to hopefully, but definitely the placements. But just, you know, it's quite broad, but the fact that Norland is such a tight-knit community, and I think I've talked about support, but you really can get support. You know, I bumped into my tutor today in college, obviously distance, not actually bumped into her, but I saw her and I said, can we have a meeting? And we've got a meeting straight away tomorrow, that kind of thing. It's so easy to get some support and friendly, and it's just a lovely place to study, really.
Fantastic. And Tilly, what's your favourite part so far?
I think I'm going to have to say the same as Nancy, the placements, and I think I'm probably biased because I'm currently at one. But it's so enjoyable. Like, it's so nice to be able to get your hands like straight in from the get-go. Like, this isn't my first placement either. I've been on one back in October. And it's so nice to like immediately get into the flow of it, and know that you're not like in a classroom just learning about things and not having the chance to apply it, because I really enjoy the practical aspect of it, and you do get to try out everything and really get your hands in it, and of course interact with some absolutely gorgeous children.
Just to add to that as well, I think for someone, I know from experience, I came from A-levels, and this might be kind of something for people doing A-levels that maybe they're not particularly enjoying, or they're not particularly gripped by, is that I took A-levels that I enjoyed, and psychology I did enjoy, and lots of it was around child development, but actually there was never anything that grabbed me to kind of want to write that essay or want to do that past paper. But even now I do struggle with the assignments, and like I've said, I do get support, but it's not easy, but at the heart of it, it's what I want to do and I enjoy it. And even if it is a long essay, it's a long essay about something I want to write about. So if you're thinking that you're doing your A-levels or your course at the moment and it's kind of a means to an end, stick with it and come to Norland and do what you want to do, and it'll be amazing.
Brilliant. This is a question for Katie. Do you recommend a reading list prior to students coming to Norland? Do you think it will help?
We get asked that an awful lot, actually, and what we notice is when students come in, we kind of hit the ground running quite quickly with regards to the course content. And so we can give you an overview of some of the things that we would suggest you looking at, for example, being really familiar with maybe aspects like the EYFS and the statutory framework. But I would say read around the early years rather than going through a really regimented reading list, as it were. Just be really informed about different dynamics that are out there. think about different magazines that are out there based at the early years workforce, and just try and become informed with regards to those aspects, and then we can really point you in the right direction when you start learning with us.
Fantastic. This is, I'm going to put this to Tilly, if that's possible. Do you take part in any societies open to you by Bath Spa? Is there lots of things going on?
I know that there's a lot of things going on. I personally don't have any hand-eye coordination, so for the safety of myself and others, I don't really explore the world of sport.
That's very honest.
Many people do.
Very honest.
But I am pushing the boat out, and after Christmas, when things open up a bit more, me and my one housemate are joining the Bath Spa Rock Climbing Society.
Wow.
So there are certainly options out there, and honestly, from what I can tell, there's pretty much a society for anything and everything you could be interested in. And if not, Norland are really helpful with setting up a society within the college, and we'll be more than happy to facilitate that.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Nancy, how long before the start of Welcome Week did you move to Bath and get to know everybody?
So obviously I'm assuming people on the chat or who asked the question knows about the kind of process of housing. You get put into your house and you find out who you're living with really soon after, and obviously if the people you're living with are happy for them to have their details shared, you get sent an email with their emails. And so I found out the day after results day. Lots of other people found out on results day, so it's a really quick turnaround. And we had a WhatsApp group messaging each other kind of for the whole of August, and then we all moved in a week before we started college. So we got to kind of come and see Bath. Obviously before COVID we could actually go out and do things and, you know, go out for lunch and that kind of thing in the sun, even though it was still September. But yeah, we got to meet each other for a week rather than going straight into it, which was really nice. Yeah, so a week before. Some people will come a couple of weeks. It depends of where you live, how easy it is to get down. COVID is obviously kind of in the way a bit with that at the moment, but yeah.
Fantastic. And I'm going to ask this question to both of you, so I'll start with Tilly first. A little bit of a brief overview. What lecture did you do today, and can you give us a bit of an overview of what your normal study day would be?
So obviously I'm on placement, so I didn't have a lecture today. But in a normal scenario on a Wednesday, I would be in college having lectures all day. So it's my full day in college on a Wednesday, having a concepts of learning and development lecture in the first half of the morning and a breakout session, which is like a seminar. And then in the afternoon, personal, social and emotional development and the associated seminar there as well. I find with our timetable this year, because of COVID, I don't know if it's different, and Nancy will fill you in on that, but I have one full day online through Microsoft Teams, and then a full day of lectures in college, and then I'll have 2 half days, and then on a Friday you might have a master class on something specific, or a little booster session on something, or a guest lecturer. So I know that some of you have also asked if it's you could work around your timetable to support yourselves. You definitely can. There are gaps, and even your full day of college ends at 4:30, so it's definitely still nice to be able to have a social life or work around it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm the same. I have on Wednesday, obviously I'm in college at the moment, so I started the day the same. I had play and learning, which is a new lecture, well, a new module for me. We had a couple of more about a month, a couple of lectures on it about a month ago while we were on placement for 4 weeks. So we've just come back off placement, back into college, while the first years go back to placement. And that's also something that is really lovely, is that you'll always be with another year in college while someone's on placement, and the timetable just works so fluidly, and everyone kind of, you know, it all works out really well with placements and lectures. But yeah, and then tomorrow I have my diploma day. So tomorrow is food sewing in the morning and food and nutrition in the afternoon. And I think we're making toad in the hole. I might need to check that, but if we are, that sounds pretty good.
I might
So that'll
pop
be tomorrow.
I might pop in and have a socially distanced lunch.
It might have been changed, so don't get. I mean, I'm trying to kind of think. I mean, whatever it will be amazing. But Toad in the Hole would be pretty fantastic. But whatever it will be nice. I mean, the third year's made a full Christmas roast last week or this week. So yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm up to at the moment.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask this one to Katie, and that is, how does mitigating circumstances work?
Okay, so we recognise that life can throw curveballs every now and again. We realise that sometimes maybe somebody needs a little bit longer with regards to being able to get an assignment in, for example. So what tends to happen on the first instance is if the student recognises that maybe they're finding it a bit hard to meet their deadlines, or maybe something's happened within their personal circumstances, we encourage them to reach out to their personal tutor, and we have a session to be able to talk about it, and we can then help the student to apply for mitigating circumstances. It's all really streamlined here. We actually have a mitigating circumstances email address which students can access with the application form, and you can just fill out one form for lots of different modules if you need to. And we do it on a case-by-case basis. So we know that some people might just need 24 hours, for example, and then we know that some people might need a little bit longer with that. And we work with the students to try and help them to be able to deal with these different submissions in a way that's manageable and achievable, because we want our students to be able to overcome any challenges and barriers that might come their way.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I'm going to send this over to Nancy. What kind of masterclasses do you do?
So we do masterclasses through all of our training, so the whole 3 years. To name a couple, we've done top and tailing, so learning how to bathe a baby and change their nappy, and all in the correct ways, and keeping sure everything's hygienic. We've done bottle feeding, terry cloth nappies, because obviously most people are happy to do kind of disposable nappy. We learn that as well in the same lecture, but obviously there are still families wherever we're working for that use different types of nappies, so it's kind of a whole nappy changing masterclass on all the different types of nappies. They're probably much more than you think. I mean, I thought disposable and reusable ones, but no, there's lots more. So people are using them, so we learn how to do the correct folds, that kind of thing. We've done, I can't remember the specific name of it, but there's kind of an overall hygiene masterclass. So learning, it sounds silly, but learning how to correctly wash your hands. And at this time, that's quite important. And learning how to take care of other children, your children who you're looking after, hygiene wise. And we do masterclasses on things like neuroscience. So Janet, this week actually, and we have another one in first year, we did a whole neuroscience on stress and how you deal with stress and how children deal with stress. And that was kind of a masterclass, but links into the modules, one of the modules I'm doing at the moment.
Just to make people aware, Dr. Janet Rose is our principal.
Yeah.
So she obviously is involved with actually teaching the students, which is fantastic, because it's an experience that they really, really enjoy, and she's a fantastic teacher. So just another question, and I'm going to direct this to Tilly, because obviously you're obviously started this year. What did you put in your application to make it stand out from the others? As in personal statement.
Yes. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I love having a good waffle about myself. And I think it's something you need to learn and accept, like early on, for like jobs and CVs and things. Like, you are going to have to nail being able to sell yourself. And I think, honestly, it's been so long, I can't remember what I specifically put. But I think I was just honest, and I think you can tell in an application that I genuinely loved working with children. And that is just at the forefront of my mind when I was writing my personal statement, was like, I want to convey that this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to do, like, forever. Like, this is just my dream come true, like, as a career. And I think it's not so much like you need to write a specific like statement or anything. It's that you need to show that you're passionate about this, that this is what you want, because it is like, it's dedication to become a Norland nanny. And if you've got the dedication to want it and you want it enough, then you're like an ideal candidate.
Fantastic.
So I can't tell you that there's like a checklist or anything, but just really try and show that you're really passionate.
Anything you want to elaborate on that, Nancy?
Before Tilly had mentioned passion, I was just going to say the exact same. Mention your experiences with childcare and passion. If you remember 2 words, passion and experience, for your personal statement. And I think, yeah, selling yourself. And like Tilly said, go for it. You know, tell them everything you've done, show off a bit. Like, obviously, you know, it wouldn't come off in a cocky way. You just want to sell yourself, and you want to say, this is what I can do. This is what I've done. You want to have me as an Norlander, so take me on and interview me and you'll see. But yeah, just being confident and selling yourself, like Tilly said, and making sure you, even if you think, oh, well, they want to know if captained a hockey team, yeah, because you're showing leadership and you show you can take control, that kind of thing. Even things you might, you know, obviously to a certain extent, maybe, I don't know, making coffees might not be as kind of childcare related, but things like that, you know, taking on a role, that is, I mean, you know, it's everywhere, it will all have links, but yeah, just showing your passion and experience.
Fantastic, thank you. I just wanted to mention to the obviously people that have got questions, there was quite a lot of specific questions about qualifications. It's probably the best to is actually contact our admissions department with your question, because they'll be able to give you specific advice about the qualifications that you have, and you want to know whether that those qualifications would be acceptable to Norland. They would be the best people to speak to. They're a lovely team, and they'll be able to help and advise you. So I do recommend you contact the admissions team about those specific queries regarding your qualifications. I'm going to answer one of those questions that have come through, and one of those questions is there a limit on the amount of students we take in each year? We can take up to 100 students. You know, that's because we've got a new building, we've got new facilities, and we're able to take 100 students at a time. So we are very small, but that should come across in the fact that our students have the best training. Because we are so small, that goes in our favours. It's very positive that our students are able to work in small groups. I think Nancy and Tilly will probably agree with me. You do make friends, and potentially those friends will be friends for life as well. And you know, we've had reunion days every other year, and when you have people coming back that have been friends for 50, 60 years. So there's a positive, the fact that we are so small. Obviously, you know, we encourage applications. If you're put off by the fact that we are so small, please don't think that. We judge every application on its merit, and you know, we look at your experience and everything like that. And if we think you're good enough to come to Norland, you will be offered a place. So although we're very small, and you know, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are maintaining that level of quality. So we are never going to have thousands and thousands of students, because we want to maintain that the Norland standard, and we think we do that by having smaller numbers, which is really, really important to us. I'm going to ask you one more question to Tilly and Nancy, actually, because I think this is very important. What are you most excited for after you finish your degree and diploma and become a graduate Norland nanny? Tilly.
I feel like it sounds like such a cliche answer. I'm so excited to meet like new children, new people I'm working with, and each of their individual characters and individual challenges. Just even like at my placement, I just love interacting with them. That feeling when you know that they've like started to trust you, started to bond with you a little bit, it's just so rewarding. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, is knowing that you're out there, you're making a genuine difference to these children, and you're like getting a chance to give back to the world, to give back to the community. I wouldn't change it or swap it in for anything.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I'm further ahead than Tilly. I'm now in my second year, and I'm still kind of got all these ideas in my head, but it's not a kind of stressful process. It's not it's not making me nervous thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Because the possibilities are endless, and we are so lucky that at Norland we will go straight onto a job. You know, we will have that because there are always nannies needed, because there are always children in the world, and so it's always a job that people need. But I think just all these possibilities. You know, I could go and train to be a midwife. I could go and be a primary school teacher. I could, you know, there's so many things I could do that it's not just nannying. But I do agree with what Tilly said. I think just forming bonds with families and children is something I'm really excited about, because I've brought up my mum. She was a nanny, obviously trained a few years ago, but she is still in contact with her, you know, her first charges, the children she looked after, and they're kind of having their own children now, and I'm meeting them at kind of not similar age to me, obviously I'm 19, but kind of looking after the children of the children she looked after. So it's kind of all of that, and it's how Norland is always such an amazing community and family. And we're always, you know, Norlanders will always be there for each other in the same way we are for prospective students. And just to kind of second what Kate has said, I did add on my my nanny Instagram there. I don't know if it, you know, it's Nancy McPhee 43, but it's just kind of, I'll always be there to answer a message. Or for lots of students who have joined this year, in your year, Tilly, I had phone calls with them just to chat, and it's just really informal, just to kind of, if it's like a, you know, just a quick question, but I'll always get back to you, and even if we just had a FaceTime or that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just the community aspect of Norland is just so wonderful.
Wonderful, brilliant. That is really all we've got time for questions wise, and we've still got lots there. So please, if you have asked a question and we haven't covered it, please email admissions@norland.ac.uk. You can ask on our live chat as well on our website. Please ask questions. You can email the inquiries email as well. Please follow us on social media. There's always lots going on, usually lots of lovely things that they're being photographed. So please follow us on that. There's Instagram and obviously Twitter, etc. And really just to say a massive, massive thank you to Katie for giving up her evening, and Tilly and Nancy. It was just so lovely to hear from all of you. And I hope it's inspired and given you a little bit of insight into Norland, you know, finding out a bit more about us, and hopefully we will see you at the next Norland Unwrapped session. Like I said, the on-demand sessions are available as well, so please feel free. So take care, stay safe, look after each other, and we'll hopefully see you on the next session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.